Well, good Friday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Quintero Show on YouTube. San Diego Sports Talk. We're here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9:30 talking about what's happening in America's finest city. And thank you very much for joining me this morning. And boy, it's going to be an exciting Friday night, an exciting Saturday regarding high school athletics. We're going to get into that here in about 10 to 15 minutes with Bodie DeSilva, a longtime sports writer here in San Diego. But I want to start off today a couple of business items. Number one, if you're tuning in for the very, very first time, would very much appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our channel. We very much appreciate it. And if you got comments at the bottom of our YouTube page, if you have comments about the show, about something that's maybe nagging at you, hey, write them in. Write them in. I got to get this off my chest. And everybody knows I'm a big Laker fan. I got my Mamba Mentality sweatshirt on this morning right here. Okay. But last night, Lakers. Oh, my God. Unbelievable. They had a game one, but they couldn't hit free throws. I mean, I could get a ninth grader at Torrey Pines High School at lunchtime who doesn't play basketball to go out and make at least 4 out of 9. Lakers down the stretch last night made 3 out of 9 and got beat 119 to 118 by Orlando last night. And congratulations to Jamal Mosley, the head coach of Orlando. He played at Rancho Buena Vista, and a great guy, and doing a nice job with that young basketball team. Man, I can't even imagine being J.J. Redick last night. I mean, he had to be driving home after that game just shaking his head. Lakers had that game one, just couldn't quite get the job done, but hey, so on and so forth. That's the NBA. You're going to lose some games like that. But that one last night, man, I was all excited. I was watching that. I was reading up on Roki Sasaki, who I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And I'm writing down my notes and watching the Laker game. And, man, they let it get away. And Franz Wagner hit that three-pointer with 2.5 seconds to go. And the Lakers, I still don't know what the hell play they were running with 2.5 seconds out. After the timeout, they couldn't get a good shot. They settled for a 22-foot turnaround jumper by Anthony Davis, which very low percentage shot. But nonetheless, had to get that off my chest. But again, subscribe to the program. We're here 3 days a week and trying to keep you up to date with everything going on in sports in San Diego. Okay, we're going to start with Roki Sasaki because there was a lot of news on him yesterday. A couple of different stories actually came out. His agent, Joel Wolf, who's a really good agent, by the way, said that he was really upset that there was a story out that Sasaki and their representatives had a handshake agreement with the Dodgers. He goes, "You're questioning my integrity. There's no deal in place." And then later, Rob Manfred, the commissioner, now starting to get involved in this. And he said yesterday he expects Sasaki to be posted after December 2nd. So that would go into the 2025 international pool of money. Because right now, very few teams have a whole lot of money. In fact, in 2025, a lot of the teams already have verbal agreements with players, and they maybe would pull out of those to give whatever they could to get Sasaki if he would sign with them. Now, when he is posted, there's a 45-day window where all 30 teams can negotiate with him. And, we figure it's probably going to be the Dodgers. Padres are going to be, in second place right now. That's kind of the way it looks. It looks like it's a two-horse race, but it really looks like the Dodgers probably have it wrapped up. We'll have to wait and see. You never know. Things can change on that. But, again, he would not be posted till December 2nd and wouldn't sign before January 15th. So when we get into December, he gets posted, we get into early January, all the speculation will continue. So this will be a nice ongoing story for Major League Baseball to keep them at the top of the sports page throughout the course of the offseason. And of course, the winter meetings are going to be down in Dallas starting on December 8th. So we'll keep you up to date on that. Now, the other thing I want to get to, and we're going to get to Bodie DeSilva, because I can't wait to go to this game tomorrow night. It's going to be a hell of a game between Lincoln and Cathedral Catholic. I mean, Lincoln got them pretty good the first time, but I think Cathedral Catholic thinks they got Lincoln's number tomorrow night. We're going to have to wait and see. And Bodie DeSilva is going to get us a breakdown on that game and then all the semifinals around the county tonight. But I want to get to the Padres here for a minute. I'm looking at this roster, and we know that last year they cut about $90 million out of the payroll. we know with everybody, getting a bump and certain guys' salaries going up, they're going to be over 200 million. You're right. What we hear somewhere in the neighborhood of about 210, 211 right now. And we know they want to stay away from the tax. Well, they got a lot of issues. I mean, who's going to be the left fielder? Who's going to be the catcher? In fact, who's going to be both the catchers? And, what are you going to do for starting pitching now that Joe Musgrove's out? I mean, Matt Waldron can probably get a few starts here and there. Randy Vasquez got better last year. Maybe Johnny Brito comes up and gets a few starts. Maybe you stay within. But you got Darvish, you got Cease, and you got Michael King. But here's the deal. You got to win in 2025. The window is starting to close. Players are getting older. We really don't know who's going to be the starting shortstop. I presume it'll be Xander Bogaerts because you know what? The Padres are boxed in payroll. They're boxed in. So Bogaerts will be the shortstop. Manny will be at third. Not sure who's going to play second. The easy move would be to put Cronenworth over there and go with Luis Ariz at first base. And he's in the final year of his contract. Now, here's the deal. You got Ariz, who's going to be a free agent. You got Michael King, who's going to be a free agent. And you got Dylan Cease, who's going to be a free agent. You better win in 2025 because there's no guarantee that King and Cease are going to be back. The Padres have some serious issues with their payroll because they've got all these guys locked up to long-term deals. So this is the deal, man. 2025, they blew the window in 2024. I know they won 93 games, but they should have beat the Dodgers. Even the Dodgers said they were the best team. Everybody said Padres had the best team, and the Padres didn't get the job done. The expectations were too much for this ball club to handle. They were up 2-1 against the Dodgers, and they couldn't close it out. And the Dodgers ramped it up and took care of business. I mean, if you'd have told me the Padres would go into that final game at Dodger Stadium and hold the Dodgers to 2 runs and the Padres would lose, I'd have lost my house. I mean, seriously. 24 straight innings. That's almost impossible with the Padre lineup. But they blew it in 2024. And we can say, oh, man, this guy did great and that guy did great. Hey, the bottom line in professional athletics is W's. I don't care if you play good, bad, or indifferent. You got to win. And the Padres, they laid a royal egg at the end of the year. Now 2025, with all these guys pending free agents and not knowing if Profar's coming back, we have no idea who's playing left field right now. We have no idea who's going to be the starting catcher. We have no idea who's going to be the backup catcher. And we don't know who's going to round out the pitching staff. 2025, though, has to be the year because there's no guarantee that Cease, King, or Ariz are going to be back. So give me your comments on that. And at the end of the program, we're going to take your comment. I want you to tell me. I'm going to give you a little time because we're going to get to Bodie, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Aztec football game tomorrow up in Logan against Utah State and the USC UCLA game. We'll talk a little bit about the Rams and the Chargers play Monday night. But we're going to get to a lot of questions today. But seriously, 2025 has to be the year because after that, there could be slim pickings. And I know they're going to be talking, well, Ethan Salas will be coming up. Ethan Salas, I know he did well in the Arizona Fall League, but he had 206 last year as an everyday catcher in high A ball. He's 18 years old. Let the guy grow and mature and get better. Leo DeVries, he was 17, now 18. Give him time. Don't rush these guys. Don't let them sell us a bill of goods on these guys until they get to the big leagues and see what they can get done. Just take your time. But I'm going to tell you right now, after 2025, unless they find out in their backyard, I know Peter Seidler had that money tree out in his backyard. Unless the Padres find a money tree in one of their executives' backyard, after 2025, it could be a very interesting run for 3 or 4 years. And then all your guys who are under long-term contracts are getting older. The only guy that's young is Fernando Tatis. And before we know, he's 26 years old. Before we know it, heck, he's going to be 30 years of age. So 2025 has to be the year for the Padres. Give me your take on that. Okay, we're going to get to our guest now, and I'm really excited about this guy. This guy works his tail off. You see him around. You may not know his name, but you recognize him because he's always got a backpack. He's always running around sidelines at high school athletic events. And it could be football, it could be basketball, it could be soccer. whatever. This guy's all over the place, and it's very nice to welcome to the program a longtime friend, Bodie DeSilva, who does an incredible job covering high school sports in our city. And Bodie, welcome, and very nice to have you this morning.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be on today.
All right, I want to start with tonight's games because we got some really good games. You know, we had John Maffey on the last couple of weeks. And, I've been a big proponent that there are way too many teams in the playoffs. I mean, you got teams that were 0-10, 1-9, 2-8, and too many divisions, too many teams, participation type awards, which I got a problem with because it really waters down the championships. And in San Diego, when they went to the open division a number of years ago, everybody kind of looked at that as, well, man, those 4 teams in the open division and everybody else isn't very good. Well, I'll tell you what, this year in the Division I playoffs, this is probably, in my opinion, and you can disagree with me, you'll be wrong, but you can disagree with me. This D1 this year is probably the best I've seen it.
Yeah, Division I was really incredible going down. I mean, ultimately, we ended up seeing the top 4 seeds get to the semifinal round, but a lot of those other teams were tested and there were some toss-ups, and ultimately those home games are super important, and we're getting some great games. Those, like you said, San Marcos El Camino is one of the semifinals, and Carlsbad Granite Hills, which was an open division game a year ago. So some really good games tonight.
Let's start with the San Marcos team. They've really done a nice job of kind of rebuilding that program the last really 3 or 4 years, and every year it seems like they're right there in the top 5, top 6 in the county.
Yeah, 19 wins the last 2 years, 10-0 in league. Tom Carroll's done a great job. No shock there. I think he learned from the right person. But I saw El Camino last week, and I'll be really interested to see what they do. Last week, they ran 46 times out of 47 offensive snaps. I think they have to take that similar formula in here tonight because San Marcos is going to throw the ball all around. They got a great quarterback. They have a ton of talented receivers. And if you let them go up and down the field, they're just going to put points out there. So I think El Camino has to limit the possessions and run the ball. They have the capability. Can they do it 2 weeks in a row? That'll be the big question.
The other matchup tonight is a rematch of last year, an open division semifinal, and Granite Hills won that game. It was a heck of a game, came down to the wire, and that was the game that ended Julian Sands' high school career that night. And I remember seeing him on PPR afterwards, and man, what a class act he was, how he handled that loss. But Granite Hills, they've had a couple of blips along the radar, but they're a very talented team. And Carlsbad, I think they're good. They're not obviously as powerful as they were a year ago, but they've been pretty consistent, I think, throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, going into that game a year ago, I didn't give Granite Hills much of a shot to go on the road. They ended up taking that game there, and they just had so much on both sides of the ball. They don't have that this year. Really, it's just an offensively strong team. And Carlsbad's a little different too. The offense isn't what it was. It couldn't be when you have to have a new quarterback there. But defensively, they've been stronger than what I thought they'd be with all the pieces they lost. So I think that's the matchup I'd look at there. I'll give Carlsbad a slight edge being at home, but this one's really a toss-up.
Moving to Division II, kind of an interesting matchup. And again, it gets into teams that didn't have good regular seasons. Poway, they come into the game tonight in Division II in their matchup against Uni City, a 4-7. Uni City sitting right now at 10-1. They've had a really nice run.
Yeah, University City got a bunch of kids to transfer back in after they were gone for a year, and that's really just helped them take off right away there. For Poway, I think them going through such a tough schedule, playing in the Avocado League has helped them at this point. They got that bye in the opening week of the playoffs to kind of reset, get guys healthy. I just think that has to help because they've seen the best of the best. They've seen open division teams, the top of Division I. I give Poway a real shot in this game. And what I like about this new format, it's certainly not perfect, but we're seeing a lot of matchups with teams who haven't played in many years. For these two, they haven't played since 1984. So you're seeing some new blood that University City and Poway typically wouldn't have normally played.
The other matchup I think will be interesting tonight. Helix coming in with a losing record at 5-6. I believe they've got a pretty young squad. They're going to be going down to take on Modern Day Catholic. And at the beginning of the year, Modern Day Catholic really they didn't look like they were all that great, but all of a sudden, bingo, they found some answers. They're coming into this game tonight and hosting a playoff game at 8-3.
Yeah, Mater Dei Catholic loaded up with a really difficult schedule. They played Cathedral. They went to San Marcos. I think they really took those lumps early on, and it's helped them because I didn't expect them to blow out Bishops the way they did a week ago. And for Helix, they had big expectations. They've had some sit out guys. They haven't been totally healthy, but to get to this point, I think it speaks to what they do have. I like Mater Dei Catholic in this game. I just think they're the better team at this point, and they've proven that.
Division III semifinal, a 4-seed San Pasquale 6-5, going down to the Imperial Valley to take on 8-3 Central Union. So San Pasquale, they'll be leaving about lunchtime today.
Yeah, Central, I was interested to see. They ended their season getting blown out by Brawley, and I wasn't sure how they'd respond. They got that bye, and they took care of Patrick Henry last week. They have a great edge rusher in Jared Martin, a kid who's going to go play at TCU next year. And San Pasquale's throwing the ball a bit more than you would have expected in past years. They've got a really good quarterback, underclassman, and Robert Renneria. So I would give Central the edge. It's tough to pick any San Diego section team, county team when they have to go out to the Valley, but Central's a real good one. But San Pasquale's proven that they're also a really good team this year.
Hey, the best part about going down the Imperial Valley, I know you're not going to eat your pregame meal probably down there unless they give you a sandwich or whatever. But afterwards, man, there are a lot of great places to grab some good Mexican food down there. Always enjoyed going down there as a player and as a coach. The other matchup, and this comes into the 0-10. St. Augustine had to wait until the first round of the playoffs, and Ron Carricker, who's a marvelous guy, used to be the head coach at USD, San Jose State, a longtime college coach, took this job, and there were a lot of problems at St. Augustine. They were pretty much chronicled last year. Their coach got let go. A lot of players transferred out. A lot of them ended up at Cathedral. But Ron Carricker takes this job. The regular season, they go 0-10. Now he has to wait to the postseason to get his first 2 wins. They go into this game tonight 2-10, and they're traveling over to take on number 2 San Diego 8-3. Do the Saints have a shot in this game?
Yeah, I think they do. I caught a couple of the Saints games late in the year, and they really had opportunities. I know at Madison against Point Loma, 1-score games where if they could just get over the hump, the offense hasn't been there, but the defense has been super consistent. Now, it's not going to be great when you're playing Cathedral or Lincoln, but against like-minded teams, I think they've been pretty solid, and I give them a shot here. San Diego has been very good for a reason. One of their star players, Kai Cooper, the son of Stephen Cooper, was on that Saints team last year now over at San Diego High. But I think the way Saints are playing, I give them all the possible shot in the world to win this game tonight.
All right, let's go to the Division 4. Montgomery going on the road up to North County to take on Westview. Montgomery 9-3, going to take on the Westview Wolverines, who are 5-7. Is this kind of a toss-up game, you think?
I think it is, but from looking at what Montgomery's done so far, they beat Calexico 33-6. Last week they go up to Ramona and dominate that one 28-7. It is a toss-up, but man, the way Montgomery's playing, you probably should give them all the credit too, because as an 8 seed, they haven't looked like that so far.
All right, out in the East County tonight, who's ever keeping stats and who's ever in charge of the scoreboard, they're going to be very, very busy. You got number 3 Grossmont 5-6. They don't play a lot of defense on that squad, but they put a lot of points on the board, and they're going against number 2 seeded El Cap 8-3. And man, I expect this game to be in the 40s for both squads.
Yeah, I think at least the 40s. I'm glad I'm not doing this one on deadline because the offense that Anthony Lawrence, he feels like he was just there 5 years ago as a player, coming back to Grossmont, he's really put in an offense that is explosive really against everyone. Now, defensively, some games they can't get any stops, but if they get a couple stops tonight, I think Grossmont has to be the winner here because that offense has just proven throughout the year they can score on just about anybody.
All right, getting to Division 5, the final 11-man division, I do want to get a little in on the 8-man championship game that's going to be played tonight out of Palomar. But in Division 5 tonight, you got a great guy, Ron Hamamoto, a marvelous guy. He's coached at several high schools, always had success, 7-5. He's got Monte Vista. They're going up to Dick Haynes Stadium to take on the Vista Panthers, who come in at 4-7.
Yeah, they've gotten their miles in. A 1-point win at Fallbrook, a 1-point win at Hoover. The way they're playing, I think it's tough to pick against them. Although Vista's been pretty solid, I think, with what they've been. You looking back years, you wouldn't think Vista's ever going to make it in Division 5, but that's just how the formula's gone these days. I'll pick Monte Vista again. I think the way they're going, it's tough to say any other result.
All right, another ball game tonight. You've got Crawford 6-5, going to Bonita Vista 6-5, and I believe that game will be at Southwestern, won't it?
I believe that's correct. Yeah, what Crawford's done in recent years has just been awesome. It kind of resurgence for what they've turned around and been a pretty solid program. It's going to be in the lower divisions. Enrollment's always going to be lower there, but I think Crawford's got all the opportunity to go and beat Bonita Vista tonight.
I want to mention the 8-man championship game because a couple of weeks ago, I went out to Horizon Prep to watch them play Borrego Springs. And somebody said, well, why would you go out and watch an 8-man game? Well, number one, I hadn't seen one since Rashawn Salam played at La Jolla Country Day. But the very, very first high school football coach at Torrey Pines was a guy named Cliff Kenny. And Cliff Kenny is approaching, maybe he's already hit his 80th birthday. But he played for Don Coryell. He's still out there helping out at Horizon Prep. So I went out on a Friday afternoon, watched the game, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's crazy, a lot of points scored, but they got beat last week. But tonight, the 8-man championship game at that brand new stadium at Palomar, it's going to be Calvin Christian 7-3 taking on St. Joseph's Academy 9-1, and that game will be at 7:00. Any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway in recent years, Foothills Christian had become the dominant team here in 8-man. And for Calvin Christian to go beat them in the semifinal round, not even let them get to the title game this year, I think is impressive. But, man, what St. Joseph Academy's done, just rolling through everyone, a 60-point win last week. I don't know how you slow them down right now.
Okay, Bodie, before we get to tomorrow night's game, and again, I hope a lot of people come out. I'm very anxious to see what the turf is going to look like tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I know they've been working awful hard on it after that last Aztec game on that Friday night against New Mexico. They were ripping that turf out. They were putting in new turf, and I know they've got the championship game tomorrow night. Then they got the San Diego State Air Force game, and then of course the Holiday Bowl. So we'll see how that turf holds up. I'm very anxious to see that, but I wanted to get your opinion because everybody's got an opinion about how the playoffs were seeded, whether it's Max Preps, Cal Preps, the old eye test. They use Cal Preps this year.
Yep.
From your standpoint, how did it work?
I feel like whatever system is used every year, there's a big group of coaches that find a way to poke holes in it and argue that it's not the right way. I don't think this year was perfect. I think ultimately we need to look at, like you said, reducing the number of teams that get there. Maybe that means instead of 12-team brackets, we just go down to 8 and there's no buys for anyone. I know we reduced the open division from 8 to 4 a few years back because the road teams, I think there were only 2 or 3, and it was 5 seeds that ever won a road game in the open division in that first round. I think ultimately maybe going down and going to 5 brackets and maybe no open division. I think there's just a better way to not let as many teams get in. Now with the Saints thing this year, or Amira Mesa, 2 teams that made the playoffs without winning a regular season game, it's tough because they did play good quality schedules. So you don't want to tell teams, just load up on cupcakes and get to a 4-win minimum, whatever it may be, to get in there. You want to still have some quality non-league games, but I don't think there's a perfect fit. I just think you need to go back to the drawing board. And my first thing would be just reducing how many teams do make it.
Yeah, I think it validates the championships a little bit more. I think it's just too watered down right now. I really do. Okay, let's get to tomorrow night's game. We knew when these teams played back in October that there was a good chance that these 2 teams were going to play in late November. And we've got the game. I think this is the game that people wanted to see again. And let alone it's going to be in a beautiful stadium. The thing that I do have a little problem with, but I know why they do it, it's cheaper and everything, but you got the crowd all on the same side.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird to me. Okay. And I know that's kind of become the standard playing at Snapdragon. It wasn't like that when you played at Qualcomm Stadium, but that's kind of weird in itself. But nonetheless, Lincoln completely dominated this game at Cathedral Catholic. They won it 27-7. And one thing that Cathedral Catholic has been a staple in their program forever under Sean Doyle is being able to run the football, and they couldn't run anywhere that night.
Yeah, I just have to think, knowing what Coach Doyle's done there, that we'll see a huge improvement, and really probably a strategy shift as well, figuring out what worked, what didn't work that night, because there's just too much talent on that roster for them to go out and do the exact same thing and think that things will be different. There's so much familiarity. They've played so many times that Lincoln's actually won the last 3 league matchups, because Cathedral's been down for a couple of years. They got this infusion of talent, so many kids coming over from Saints, and I just think with what Lincoln did preseason, they played 6 non-league games, all out of section, a couple of them out of state there. I just think that's going to help them so much, and it really has helped them, that I expect Lincoln to get a victory, although I think it'll be a much closer game. I would be very surprised if it were a double-digit game, but I think Lincoln just has too much to lose this one.
Okay, tell me about Achilles Smith Jr. I obviously saw his dad play in high school. I saw him play at Grossmont College. I saw him play at Oregon, and I saw him play when he was in the National Football League. I mean, he's not really similar to his dad. I mean, he's a big, strong dude. Not that his dad wasn't a big, strong guy, but this guy's 6'6".
Yeah, he played his first 2 years up at Vista Murrieta High School and then transferred down to Lincoln. Obviously, last year they got in the open title game, and they're back there once again. He is very big when you see him in person. I mean, it very, very rarely do you see a high school kid that feels this built, 6'5", 6'6", like you said, that just kind of has that stature. Like, you could put him in a college quarterback room right away, and he wouldn't fit. He wouldn't look like he doesn't fit in there. He's got a huge, powerful arm there, and really interested to see, because in this day and age of college football, all these top schools are taking 1 or 2 quarterbacks every year, getting a bunch of guys in the room, and really just filtering out who's going to play. So you'd like to think that he can stick with it, obviously being the legacy up there at Oregon, and we'll see once he gets into that room to see if he can rise to the top, or how often or how long exactly it might take for him to get on the field there.
Now, on the other offense, the signal caller is a guy named Brady Palmer, who came on the scenes as a freshman 2 years ago at Saints. And with Coach Gladnick being relieved of his duties, he decided, along with a lot of his teammates, there just happened to be some receivers that came with him, to go to Cathedral. And Brady Palmer, I know Chip Kelly has been out to several practices, the former UCLA coach, now the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. I know the SEC has been on him. He came in with a lot of fanfare to begin the year. Has he held up his end of the bargain to this point?
Yeah, I think it was a little weird from Cathedral, because guys were getting eligible in different stages. I know he had to miss the first week. Some guys had to miss 5 or 6 weeks. I think each week he's looked a little more and more comfortable. And I think just having learned an offense at Saints the last 2 years, going over, Cathedral always wants to run the ball, but now knowing that they have such a quality passer, I think that's just kind of taken a little time for him to get used to. I'm sure next year we'll see a completely different player, because he has played so much football and he's so talented. I think he's a really good runner too. So that will be something I'll be interested to see how much they want to utilize tomorrow night, because we know what they have outside. There's just so many weapons there. I think for me, the Cathedral defensive line is the one I look at, where they got to hold up their bargain there. That was the matchup last week against La Costa Canyon. I thought they'd take advantage of. Ultimately, they did there, against an undefeated La Costa team, and I think Cathedral's defensive line really has to own tomorrow night if they're going to come up with the victory.
Well, what's going to be kind of fun to watch, I think, for fans that maybe don't go out to high school games every Friday. This game tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at Snapdragon Stadium. You're going to see 2 what are considered big-time quarterbacks. I mean, Achilles Smith Jr. is a 5-star quarterback, and I would think Brady Palmer going into next year is going to be a 5-star quarterback as well.
Yeah, this junior class of quarterbacks, Achille obviously a senior, but Brady being a junior, is maybe the best I've seen in the 10, 15 years I've been doing this, because you've got Troy Hune at Mission Hills going to Penn State. You've got Cash Herrera at Bishop's already committed to Iowa. You've got Crete Makahele at San Marcos, Quinn Roth at La Costa Canyon. You look up and down the county, there are talented quarterbacks that are going to be playing Division I that expect a lot of them to make their commitments this offseason. But yeah, Brady's on the big stage tomorrow night, but this junior class is one to watch out for.
Any gut feeling who you think's going to win this game?
Yeah, I'll go with Lincoln. I think them having played in this environment 3 years in a row, they came up big the first time against Carlsbad. Last year was kind of the opposite, having the chance there at the end and not getting it done. But yeah, I'll pick Lincoln here. But I think this is much different than the first matchup. I just have to think this is a one-score game.
All righty, Bodie. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it. I'm get down there early
Yep.
and check it out, and should be a heck of a game.
Yep. Thanks, Coach. Have a good one.
You're welcome. Bodie DeSilva really giving us a nice breakdown. Got to give the high school teams love, man. Coaches, players, trainers, assistants, everybody. I mean, there's so much goes into, any team, let alone a football team. We've got so many people, and it's so great for the community. And, maybe you're not somebody that goes to high school. Maybe you don't even have kids that went to high school. Okay, but you want to go out and watch some football and kids going out there and playing for the love of the game. Find one of these games tonight. And by the way, all these games tonight are at 7:00. The one game, the Bonita Vista game, they're playing Crawford. That game will be at Southwestern College tonight. That's the Barons' home field. But everywhere else on campus, get the schedule, 7:00, going out and have fun. And who knows, you may get hooked. High school football is really, really cool. I coached high school football for 3 years at Torrey Pines, and I got to tell you, it was so much fun. After a loss, it wasn't fun because you're mentally just exhausted after the game, especially the next day. And then, man, Sunday, you start, really getting after it and get ready for that next Friday night. But we got a lot of really good matchups tonight. And, of course, the big open division tomorrow night, 7:00 at Snapdragon Stadium. Okay, we're going to get to your questions here before long, but I want to get to a couple of other things before I get back talking about the Padres. And, again, like I said before Bodie came on, 2025 has to be the Padres' year because there are no guarantees after that. We're going to struggle maybe to fill out our roster pitching-wise this year in 2025. But after 2025, we don't know if Cease is coming back. We don't know. Heck, we don't even know if Arise is going to be on this team. They may trade him. You don't know what they're going to do. They got 1 year to go on Arise. Unless they want to give him 15 to 18 million, maybe even 20 million, he'll probably only be here 1 year. And then Michael King, a free agent. But I want to get to the Aztecs. The Aztecs, we know they can't get bowl eligible, but they can certainly start working on some things for next year. They're going up to take on Utah State. Utah State, same record, same overall record, same conference record. They're playing better football, though. Aztecs going into that game tomorrow at 12:30, by the way, 3-7, 2-3. And, last week they got beat at UNLV. We knew that was going to happen. They got beat 41-20. And Utah State, they beat up on Hawaii, up in Logan, 55-10. That game tomorrow is a toss-up for me. I think the Aztecs can win it, but again, what kind of mindset are they going up with? Been a tough year, and people are already calling for Sean Lewis's head. Back off. Well, let's wait till the end of next year. Let's see the kind of improvement he can make from year 1 to year 2. Now, next year, if we're sitting here at 3-7 and 2-3 in conference play with 2 games to go, then we might start hearing some war drums beaten about Sean Lewis that they're not making improvement. I'm going to tell you right now, next year they got to be at least a 500 team. I'm not saying they got to win the Mountain West Conference title, but they got to do at least 6-6 next year. Then the following year, go 8-4 and show increments of getting better. And their schedule, their schedule's fair. They'll play a couple of Pac-12 schools, and then, hey, what happens when you go into the so-called Pac-12? A lot of the teams are basically kind of a glorified Mountain West Conference. San Diego State football right now is on the edge. They've got to figure it out. And the NIL's not helping. NIL's killing everybody except the big schools. The Michigans, the Alabamas, the SCs, they're doing fine. But some of these other programs in the Mountain West are going to struggle. They're going to struggle. Did you see that quarterback Underwood? He was supposed to go to LSU, and last night he'd been committed to LSU. I wouldn't want to play for Brian Kelly. I'm not a big Brian Kelly fan. But he was supposed to go to LSU. He committed last January. And last night he decommitted and going to Michigan. They're saying, well, it had nothing to do that Michigan offered him $10.5 million for 4 years. You don't think so? But that's what's going on out there. That's what's going on out there in the NIL. These guys are getting big money. I had a friend of mine call me last night. He's in professional baseball. And he goes, you know what? With everything that's going on, they had to just get players. Don't even worry about them going to class. They just represent. They wear the uniforms of the university and they get paid to play. They're basically paid professionals to play for Alabama or play for USC or play for San Diego State. It's really kind of what's going on. Nobody ever talks about education anymore. But nonetheless, Aztecs play tomorrow at Utah State. We'll talk about that on Monday. And then they finish up 2 days after Thanksgiving at Snapdragon. That time will be announced, I believe, on Monday against Air Force, and that will be their final game. Okay, tomorrow, one of my favorite games of the year for a variety of reasons. Growing up in San Diego, I was a big USC fan in football and a big UCLA fan in basketball. It just kind of worked out that way. But tomorrow, you got USC UCLA. They're going to play that game tomorrow night, 7:30 at the Rose Bowl. I think USC probably wins, but Deshaun Foster's got his team playing a lot better football. USC needs to win their final 2 games, and UCLA needs to win their final 2 games. They're 4-6 and 3-5 in conference. SC, they need 1 game, but they need to win tomorrow because they got Notre Dame coming in the following Saturday, and not that Notre Dame's earth shaking. And I think the Trojans can beat Notre Dame, but if they want to be bowl eligible, they better win tomorrow night against UCLA. And FC going in at 5-5 and 3-5. So there's your little college football. I just wanted to mention briefly the NFL. We don't get into the NFL a whole lot. We talk about the Chargers here and there, but the Rams Sunday, they're going to be at home. It's going to be the Sunday night. It'll be kind of fun. Sean McVay's done a really nice job. I mean, 5-5, they're right there. I mean, you've got 3 teams in the NFC West right now that are 5-5. And you've got the Arizona Cardinals leading the division at 6-4. I mean, 49ers are having a rough year. They're 5-5. Seattle, they won last week. They're 5-5. And then you got the Rams 5-5. That division's up for grabs. I think the 49ers will probably start figuring it out a little bit. But I don't know. They've been very inconsistent. Maybe that hangover of losing that Super Bowl again last year. But they're having their problems. But the Rams, they play the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts and company. That game, again, Sunday Night Football at 5:20. And then Monday night, we're going to find out how good the Chargers are, because Baltimore is going to come out here, and they're going to be ticked off. They got beat last week. Pittsburgh did not score a touchdown last week against Baltimore. They won on field goals. And Baltimore is going to come out with a 7-4 record. Pittsburgh got beat last night in that snowstorm at Cleveland. Baltimore's going to come out, and they're going to want to inflict pain on the Chargers. Chargers, like I mentioned, haven't beaten anybody other than the Denver Broncos, who just squeaked over the 500 mark last week, and they're 6-5. I mean, the Charger wins are against teams that have won like 2 and 3 games, but they played better, and Herbert's playing better. His receiving corps is doing a better job, but I don't think they beat Baltimore, even though they're going to have the game at SoFi Stadium Monday night at 5:15. So we'll recap that next Wednesday. Okay, we got some questions out there. I would think we've got some questions regarding the Padres. I'm very concerned about where we're going here with this ball club, folks. I'm very concerned because after this next year, there are no guarantees we're going to have a bunch of studs on the mound. Matt Waldron, call him up. Oh, he'll be in camp. He'll have an opportunity to compete for a job. There's no doubt about that, Abraham. And you know what? I like Matt Waldron. You know why? Because he went out there and competed his tail off. I think, if anything, he got physically tired. I mean, he never pitched at that level with that kind of intensity. I think he did a good job until he wore out. Okay, Abraham, again, we should have never extended Manny or given a contract to Xander. Should have given that to Soto, build a young team around young players who are exciting. You know what? I'm not going to argue either one of those. Xander, I like. I'm a Xander Bogaerts fan, but it was a ridiculous contract. We didn't need a shortstop. And as far as Manny was kind of your face of your franchise. And, you know, I think that was a bit much. I guess public pressure probably played into that. I mean, that'd be devastating news if Manny Machado wasn't coming back to the Padres. But I think now you're in a bind. You can't have all these long-term contracts. It's that simple. And we're going to pay the price. Somewhere along the line, we're going to pay the price because you're going to have Bogarts and you're going to have Manny into their 40s. I mean, how are they going to age? That will be very interesting. But Padres did what they did, and now we'll see. Now, this is where you got to develop players. They keep trading guys to get guys that make a lot of money. This is why you have to have a farm system and get guys to the big leagues on your team, not everybody else's team. Brian, morning, coach. Well, morning, Brian. It's going to be a fun day, man. I got all kinds of good stuff going on. I got the ball games to go to this weekend. I got UCLA's playing tonight on TV, some college football. I'm fired up. Mark Villa, make them stay after the game practicing free throws. You know what? Some guys do. I know when I was in high school and college, after everybody go home, I'd go down and work on some things. I was a shootaholic. If my parents were still alive today, they could tell you some stories about little Johnny Contreras shooting. I had I didn't have a business card, or I had a business card leap, not a credit card leap, but I had a nice derriere to block guys out, but I could flat out shoot. I could shoot with a lot of people. In high school, I wish that I had the 3-pointer. College, I wish that I had the 3-pointer because when I'd go against those 7-footers, I could go outside and that was kind of my salvage because I could shoot real well. But a lot of guys don't work. You got to work for 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes just by yourself shooting the basketball. But last night, man, that was awful. And I know fatigue comes in. And that was a pretty physical game last night for the Lakers. But they just didn't get it done. And 3 for 9 down the stretch last night. And man, Austin Reeves missed 2 free throws, and Anthony Davis missed 2 free throws, and then Franz Wagner, who went for 37 last night, he hit that 3-pointer. His brother, Mo Wagner, who was drafted by the Lakers, he had 19 off the bench last night for Orlando. So what can I tell you? Hey, we're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. And to me, that's an accomplishment because I had no idea. When I decided to do this podcast, I had no idea what to expect. But we're almost at 3,000. So if you're tuning in for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. It's free. And we really appreciate it. And again, we'll be here on Monday morning at 9:30. I want to wish everyone a very happy weekend. Have a lot of fun. And we'll get here Monday. We'll do shows Monday. And get you ready for Turkey Day. We'll be here on Wednesday, and we'll wrap it up with all the stuff on the high schools to let people know what's going on. Again, high school semifinals tonight in 11-man football all over the county. All games start at 7 o'clock. That one game, Crawford and Medina Vista's at Southwestern. You've got the 8-man championship out of Palomar College. And then tomorrow night, you got the Open Division title game between 2 powers in San Diego. Cathedral Catholic Dons taking on the legendary Lincoln Hornets at Snapdragon at 7 o'clock. Hope to see you out there. And until Monday morning, folks, have a fun and safe weekend. Talk to you at 9:30 Monday morning. Be well.